मम ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति सपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च। श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिते नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Yeah, Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. So, as I put on the QA group, we would be, speaking something in the context of dealing with, the process of punishment, as in how, in our scriptures we see punishment being given to someone who has done some mistake, right? And in that context, we will also see, whatever happened or whatever is happening in Mayapur in the context of this Bhakti Vidya Purnamani. So that's the kind of agenda that we have. First of all, I wanted to know if anyone had any, if you have, because many people spoke to me about it. If you all read anything about it, or if you have any specific question in that context, you can put it up on the chat as well. We will deal with that. Okay, because I'm sure that many of you have read about it or you know about what happened, right? So I'll start with something related to theology, because ultimately anything that happens or anything that is done is connected to a particular theology or way of thinking. Okay, so because everything begins with that only. So recently I came across this particular point about how there are different themes in Sanatana Dharma which are very common and unique to Sanatana Dharma and is accepted across the board, whether it is Vaishnavas, impersonalists, or whoever it may be. Everyone accepts these basic, certain teachings which are common to all, and which are very different in the Western world. The West doesn't look at it like that at all. Okay, so these are some points that we would like to first discuss, and then we will go on to the issue. All right, so that is the plan for the day. Okay, so the first thing is, if you look at this concept of soul itself, jiva, right? It's a very unique concept in Sanatana Dharma, which is not there in the Abrahamic world. Okay, because in the Sanatana Dharma, every soul, every jiva who is there is considered as Satchidananda. That means he is considered as someone who is born out of immortality. Just like the Upanishads say, hey, Amritasya Putraha. It addresses the Atma as the child of immortality. Okay, so, but in the Western world, the soul is born in sin. Okay, so this is a concept which is there in their system, right? That every soul is born in sin only. And because they have such concept that every soul is born in sin, theologically, if you see the difference between Sanatana Dharma and the Western world, in the Western world, you cannot deliver yourself, correct? You may be knowing that. Like from Christians' perspective, they need Jesus, or the Muslims, they need Prophet Muhammad. Because no matter who you are, you cannot deliver yourself. You need this person, only then you can be delivered. Right? So this whole concept of yoga, sadhana, okay, by one's tapasya, one comes up, none of this exists in the Western world. Because you're born in sin. Okay, by definition, you're a sinner. So that is how they look at Jiva itself. Whereas in Sanadharma, we don't see it like that. Okay, so now this, you may say, okay, what does this have to do with anything else? It has a lot to do. That's why if you see, they look at issues also very black and white. Mm, like for example, for them, at death, everybody is buried, and on the day of judgment, all the souls are awakened from their whatever buried state, and in a binary manner, they are sent to heaven or hell, right? So either you are great and you go to heaven, or you are completely fallen and you go to permanent hell. So please try to understand this theology. As a theology, try to understand what these people are saying. It's a very, very highly binary classification. Either heaven or hell. There's nothing in the middle. It's not that somebody is, right? There's no gray scale over here. It's either of the two. That is why their concept is also very, very binary. It's either saint or sinner. Somebody is a saint and he's a great person and he's going to heaven forever, or he's a sinner and he's just put into hell. Okay, so this theology comes in several places in their systems as well. Okay, like if you see on Twitter, when even until recently, right, they banned Trump. If they banned one Jordan. They banned many people actually. If somebody speaks something that is not as per that ideology of whatever that organization is, they just ban the person. Okay, they say that no, he has to be banned. Okay, because they cannot accommodate only contrary opinions. Now this basically comes from their system itself, which is very binary in nature. Okay, which is extremely binary in nature. So if you see the Mahabharata, then this whole system, that when this doesn't exist, only that like every person is considered independent also. Like even in marriages, the wife is considered independent entity. Like that's why you see the Mahabharata, when Draupadi is brought to the assembly, when initially they sent a servant to bring Draupadi, Draupadi is asking, did Yudhishthir put himself on the wager first, or did he put me? That means, did he lose himself first? Because if he has lost himself, then how can he put me? She had all these questions. Correct? And are you getting this point, right? So even if you see carefully, one second, I just request everyone to be muted. That would kind of help us. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, so Vidura also says in the assembly, in defense of Draupadi, he says that culturally, he says very important statement. He says culturally, somebody may be dependent on another, like wife may be dependent on husband and so on. But he says fundamentally, every person is different. He says every person is different. Okay, and so he basically defends Draupadi, saying that Yudhishthir had no right to put her, as a wage in that particular gambling match. Similarly, if you carefully see, there is a big difference between the Dasya or the Shudra concept in India and the slavery of the West. In the Western system, that slave did not have any identity only. He was completely dependent on the master for in terms of everything. But Shudra was never like that. Shudra was also an independent person. Okay. So why we are making this particular point is that this basic theology of Jiva, of Sanatana Dharma, it actually gives a lot of independence. It gives a lot of power to the person. It doesn't bind him so much. Okay, that's why if you see our systems of philosophy also, like we see that some philosophies among the 6 philosophies are considered atheistic, right? Like we say Vaisheshika philosophy, or sometimes some Karma Mimamsa philosophy. But actually, if you see, it is not that they are atheistic. Okay, none of the Indian philosophies are atheistic. Everybody accepts the concept of Param Satya, but the difference is some systems of philosophy in India, they say that for your existence and peace in this world, you don't need a God. Hence, they make the position of God dormant. Okay, so it's not that they're denying his existence. Okay, so this is also very important to understand. So they don't deny his existence. They say, no, but for your existence and peace in the world, you can be happy. So Karma Mimamsa and all that, they basically say that you can be happy in the world by performing the right kind of action. And even if you are not accepted God or anything, you can be very peaceful and you can go ahead. So this is their thought process. They are not denying God's existence, but what they're basically doing is they're saying they're making him slightly dormant in that. Okay. Of course, certainly from the Vedanta perspective, we don't appreciate that so much. But the point we are trying to drive home is that the Indian system of Sanatana Dharma is based on this appreciation that the jiva is fundamentally pure. Okay. And because he's fundamentally pure, he always has a facility to come up. Okay. And because he always has a facility to come up, you cannot permanently ban someone or send someone to hell forever. You cannot do that, because that person can come back. Okay. So I hope as a concept, everyone is able to appreciate this particular point about the position of Jiva in Sanatana Dharma. Similarly, there are other 10 points which I had in my mind. I'll just tell the others very quickly, and then we will come to Jiva, and then we will come to the issue at hand that we're discussing, because that's the main thing under consideration. But still, we will just go through some other points which are very unique here. Like Prakriti. Prakriti of Sanatana Dharma is very unique, because in Sanatana Dharma, Srishti is not creation. Like sometimes in our device course or something, we give the example of watchmaker and watch, right? We give such examples, right? I'm sure all of you recall giving examples of watchmaker and watch. Actually, these examples also slightly come from a Christian theology, because the Srishti is not like that. Srishti in Sanatana Dharma is eternal, right? It's eternal. It is not like watch that is created at some X point in time. It is always existing. It is only manifested and it is unmanifested. And again, it is manifested. So why we are saying this is creation is not Srishti. Okay, it's completely different. So sometimes we may translate. That's why Sanskrit words are also very difficult to translate. Srishti cannot be translated as creation at all, because Srishti is eternal. Okay. Similarly, so this is another concept. Similarly, if you see the 3 modes, it's a very unique concept, right? Even Buddhist, Jain, everybody accepts it. Extremely, and even Gnostic philosophies in India, they accept 3 modes. Everybody accepts 3 modes. And even these words now are very difficult to translate. Like sometimes we translate Rajoguna as passion. Actually, so sometimes when we say Rajoguna as passion and we say that Rajoguna has to be curtailed, people ask, does it mean that I cannot be passionate about my work? Wasn't Arjuna passionate in his war and so on, like in his duties? So the whole problem is Rajogun cannot be translated so easily as passion also. I hope everyone is able to appreciate this point. These terms in Sanatana Dharma are very unique here and literally non-translatable. I mean, even when we try to give English words to it, it becomes very difficult to justify that exactly the same way, because they're very, it has very unique specific meanings. Okay, so similarly, another concept is karma, which is very, very unique in Sanatana Dharma. It doesn't stop for anybody, right? Like we see that Narasimhadev is telling Prahlad before leaving that Bhogena Punyam Kushalena Papam, indicating that even for Prahlad, this Punya and Papa will come in the form of happiness and distress. It doesn't stop for anybody. Okay, this concept of karma. Again, this doesn't exist in the Western world. Punarjanma, this concept that again you come back to this world, very, very unique. The concept of moksha, very unique again. The concept of sadhana, right? Like sadhana is not just connected to spirituality. Like we say that in common talk, we even say that the person who is like Zakir Hussain or somebody who is playing tabla, he does a lot of sadhana, or he does a lot of sadhana in that, and that is why he has come up in life. So this word sadhana is used in a very, very wide context and perspective. Not just connected to spirituality. Obviously, it has that, but not just connected to that. Veda Pramana, concept of Veda, and then concept of eternality. It's an extremely powerful concept if you see eternality, right? Because none of the Western religions accept eternality. And like one thinker, he was once saying that anything that has a beginning has an end. So he was giving a political talk. So he was mentioning that just like if you see Bharat and Pakistan, he was saying Bharata doesn't have a beginning because it's eternally there. So it doesn't have an end also. On the other hand, a state like Pakistan, which had a beginning, it has to have an end at some point because that's the law of this world. If you don't accept eternality, then you yourself accept this fact that anything that has a beginning has an end. Okay, and similarly, the concept of Ishvara or Parama Satya also, right? Very, very unique and very broad concept here. So many of our concepts in our Sanatana Dharma or theology are extremely unique. Now, why I'm making this point is because of this particular understanding, even the way we behave in situations also change. Like let's take one point of the jiva, the person, the atma, whatever. Actually, we use the word jiva because jiva is the word that is used for the conditioned living entity. Okay, for the liberated person, we call it Atma. So generally, we use the word Jiva for a conditioned soul. Okay. Now the thing is, Sanatana Dharma, it also accepts the fact that every Jiva, conditioned that he is prone to committing mistakes, no matter who the person is. Everyone commits mistakes. And so when the mistake, so what happens also is that over glorification of someone, there are actually scriptural statements to that effect, that one shouldn't overly glorify someone or criticize someone. I'm sure you must have read that in, I think, Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the context of Mahaprabhu and what is that person? There was this person, right, who was always critical of Lord Chaitanya, Ramchandra Puri. Yeah. That there is this statement that comes that one shouldn't overly glorify or overly criticize someone. Because now you may say, why not overly glorify? The problem with over glorification is that when something wrong happens, again, that criticism is also over only, because you just go to the other extreme. Because it's coming from a black and white system. That means either you're white, you're very, very pure, you're great, you're a pure devotee, this, that, or you're fallen, you're useless, you should go to hell, you should be kicked out. Correct. So if you consider these two, over glorification, over criticisms, these are extreme positions actually. And if you take one of these positions, you inevitably end up taking the other position also at some point of time. Okay. So I as I mentioned earlier, like in the Christian theology, they overly glorify someone as saint, or they criticize someone as a sinner. Previously, they used to stone people to death and all that kind of a thing. Correct. Even in the Islamic world, it's like that only. Either you're here or you're there. There's nothing in the middle at all. If you see in our scriptures now, even people who do very, very terrible acts, they are always given chance for reformation. They are always given an opportunity to come back. Okay, it is never that you completely debar a person for anything done. Okay. So just like that's why those of you who are there for Vyas Puja, you may recall that when I was speaking initially about the importance of Vyas Puja, I mentioned the case of Ashwatthama to make this particular point that Ashwatthama did an extremely heinous act in terms of killing people in their sleep. But then we see even such a person who did such a heinous act, okay, he's being punished, right? He has been punished for it. Adequately he has been punished. But at the same time, in the next Dwapar Yuga, he becomes Vyasadev. Can you imagine? Okay, and in the same body, he doesn't give up his body because he is considered immortal. Like the 7 immortals are there. Ashwatthama is one of the immortal person. He did a mistake. He has been given punishment. But then later he is going to be offered the position of Vyasa as well, which indicates the level of that's why I was making the point earlier about the jiva. He is fundamentally pure, so even if he does mistakes, even if he's punished, there is a limit in that punishment. You can't go overboard in that punishment. Okay, so we'll take some other examples also to see this. Like in the Mahabharata, if you see, after Bhima kills Duryodhan, what Bhima does is he starts kicking Duryodhan on the head. It comes in the story that he kicks Duryodhan on the head. And then later, Krishna, he tells Yudhishthir that Dharmaraj, he tells him basically, why are you looking like this at Bhima kicking somebody? This is wrong. You should stop him. You should not tolerate this, that this person is lying dead here, Duryodhan, and Bhima is kicking the almost semi-dead Duryodhan on his head. This is like too much insulting a person. One may say that, Arey, how did Krishna even raise this point? Because we all know that Duryodhan he did so many heinous acts against the Pandavas, right? So one may feel that because he has done such heinous acts, he must be, brutally punished. His dead body also must be literally thrown away here and there, and permanently he should go to hell. But none of that happens in the Mahabharata, right? He's killed. So that killing is the punishment. But the dead body also, Krishna is telling Bhima that we need to respect it. You can't kick it like that. And in fact, Yudhishthira tries to defend Bhima by telling Krishna that, hey, Krishna, please try to understand. This was a lifetime of enmity, and these people have done so much against us. That is why that anger is boiling. But I accept your point that we should respect the dead body and all that, the person who's dying. But at the same time, please try to understand our situation. Yudhishthira, in fact, defends Bhima in the Mahabharata. So I'm making this point because this indicates that even Krishna, as a Supreme Lord, the punishment that he gives is very balanced. In fact, Krishna was even ready to stop the war had Duryodhan listened to Krishna's suggestions and given some villages and all that. So the point here is that the punishment is also moderate, right? It's like there is punishment given, but again, it's not that you're sending the person to hell. In fact, in the end of the Mahabharata, you will read that when the Pandavas go to heaven, they see Duryodhana is sitting in heaven. And Yudhishthira is also surprised. How come this person is sitting in heaven? And then he's told that no, he was a Kshatriya. He may have done something wrong. For that, he got punished now already. So how much will you punish the same person for the mistake that is done? Okay, so Krishna says, Indra says that he died a hero's death, so he's going to get heaven for it. Okay, and he's sitting in heaven. He doesn't go to hell also, despite whatever he did. So the idea here is that punishment is there, but that punishment is quite moderate. It's kind of more balanced. It's not. There is no going overboard in that particular punishment that is being given. Even if you see in the Ramayana, and in fact, the Pandavas do the final rites for Duryodhana and so on. Even the Ramayana, if you see, when this person is being punished, who's his name? Ravan, right? Ravan is being killed. Correct now? So even though he's killed, even after that, Ram is extremely respectful towards Ravan. Even before killing him. Ram always wonders that, oh, this person is truly a very great person. It would have been great had he just given my wife back to me. I have nothing against him. I don't want to, fight with him, kill him, and destroy him like this. So Ram tries his best to stop the war. But unfortunately, because he was not willing to, he had to be punished. But even in that punishment, there is such a grace. If you see the chapter after killing Ravan, Ram's talk with Vibhishan, how he's glorifying Ravan. Somebody may feel, how can the Lord do this? This person has kidnapped his wife, right? Generally, we may think that if somebody has done something like that to us or someone dear to us, then even after killing that person, we may want to kick his body and insult him and so on. We may have such an anger against that person which will not subside even after punishing him. But here Ram is not doing like that. He's saying that, okay, we'll punish him. But at the same time, he speaks of his glories. He says that he was so brave. He was such a great Kshatriya, and so on and so forth. If you see Ram's conversation with Vishan, before killing and also even after killing, it's very, very balanced. And he says that no, we have to give a very good, Antya Sanskar to him and so on. So this is something. One second, I'll just move a little bit here. One second, just give me a second. Just give me a second. Yeah, I'm just back. So the purpose of giving this particular background is that in punishing someone. So now, first of all, now let's look at this particular case. So this is not the unique. This is not the first time it happened in our ISKCON movement that some sannyasi or some great person did a mistake like this. Okay, so I'm referring to whatever happened with Bhakti Vidyapurna Maharaj. So those of you who may not know that, ISKCON GBC has already put up the news that 15 years ago there was inappropriate behavior of him with one. It was an 18-19-year-old lady who was part of the girls' Gurukul there. So they did not have physical sex per se, but there were many things that they did which crossed boundaries of sannyasi, obviously, and also of like a man cannot touch a woman in this particular way, right? So they had this for a couple of years. For 2-3 years, they had this kind of interaction between them. So this lady was 18 to 20 at that particular time, and Maharaj was obviously 45 or something. So what happened is recently, this Mataji, who is now obviously 32, 33, she came up with all this complaint. And the Child Protection Office investigated it. Actually, it's not a child abuse case, because this lady, when she was abused, she was not a child, she was above 18. But it comes technically under what is called as pastoral abuse. Pastoral abuse means someone who is in a superior position, because Maharaj was like a headmaster or something of that particular school. And this lady, she was a teacher over there, and there were other students and all that. So this is what was reported recently. So in the investigation, this lady was also interviewed, and they realized that yes. And when they spoke to Maharaj also accepted part of it. Now, again, one thing interesting over here is that Maharaj has, interesting as in important point to know is, I'm audible, right? I hope I'm audible. Someone is saying I'm not audible. So I'm just trying to. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I'm audible? Can someone just confirm on chat? So I think Deepti Mataji says my voice is breaking. So can someone else confirm? If yeah, I'm okay, I'm audible. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so I'm using my phone only to speak. I use the laptop only for the video, because on this iPhone, the phone quality is general, the voice quality is good. Okay, anyway, coming to the point here. So this Mataji put a lot of complaints recently to the GBC or whatever. And when the Child Protection Office, when they spoke to Maharaj, Maharaj did not deny it, but he has not accepted all the allegations also. So in such situations, okay, now power has gone at my end, so that's why video will not be there, but we will continue speaking. So Maharaj has accepted that he did, touch her breast and various other parts of her body in that particular period, which was wrong, but he has not accepted all the accusations also. So these kind of things happen where, these kind of things happen very normally, because, in such situations of allegations, if there is an allegations against someone, it's quite common to see that someone makes an allegation of 10 things, and whom the allegation is against accepts 4 or 5, doesn't accept other 4 or 5. So it's likely that the truth is somewhere in the middle, which is kind of quite obvious, right? So it's likely that the person who has put the allegations also may have kind of exaggerated the feelings slightly, and the person who denies also may have exaggerated the denial. I hope you're understanding my point, right? They may have exaggerated the denial. Okay, but in this process, what the Child Protection Office did, they issued a statement. That statement is on ISKCON News, if you see carefully. And they have taken an extremely strong stand against Maharaj. They have asked him to vacate ISKCON Mayapur in 10-20 days. And they have put a lifetime ban on him in giving classes, in dressing the deity, doing puja, staying in any ISKCON temple, even garlanding Srila Prabhupada. He cannot do for whole life. They have said that he can only come and visit some ISKCON temples for his nourishment. That means he can just come and hear a class and go. And he cannot give class in any public forum. He can give class only to his disciples. Okay, and because he is an initiated guru, so he can give class only to his disciples online. So they have taken such a stand and they have put this letter in public. This is the stand that they have taken. Okay, now this is the incident that has happened. Okay, now if I go to understanding this, obviously, you know, one question or something that is there always in people's mind is, how is it possible that someone who was, you know, so great, or, you know, who was giving classes, who was so exalted, how is it possible that, you know, they could come to such a level? Okay, so one thing we have to understand, that the nature of the human body is there, where this attraction to opposite sex is extremely strong, and at some point of time that comes in everybody's life. Okay, for a grahastha, there's a proper venue where he fulfills it, but a brahmachari who directly takes sannyasi doesn't have that facility. Now, if you see that Maharaj's statement on this also, he accepts that at the age of 45 or whatever, he had this inquisitiveness about a woman's body, because of which he ended up doing, you know, whatever he did with this particular Mataji, with this 18, 19-year-old girl at that time. Actually, in retrospect, ideally, it would have been great had he, you know, simply quit the ashram at that time and got married and stayed. That would have been the best thing to do. But unfortunately, he thought he doesn't have to do that. And today, the whole thing has come up in such a way that, you know, it has become quite ugly on in terms of the consequence that has happened after so many years. Another thing to note is that since the last 12-13 years, this Maharaj's record has been quite clean. That means this incident happened between 2004 and 2008. And after 2009, I mean, almost 13 years now, he has been, obviously, he has not crossed any boundary. He has been doing his sannyas dharma properly since 13 years. Okay, so this happened in that 3-4 year period, for how much ever time it happened. But the thing is, now they have taken a very strong stance like this. Okay. So now here, you know, at least when I spoke to Govind Prabhu on this, he gave a class to us about punishment and Vedic system. So he was mentioning this particular point that yeah, even if they had to punish him, so one thing is very clear: something like this, some act like this, does demand punishment. Okay, so we are not saying that punishment should not be there at all. But Govind Prabhu was telling us that in Radha Gopinath temple in Chowpatty, over the years, they had a system where whenever they wanted to punish anyone, they would never put it on paper. That means whatever punishment they had to give somebody, they would never put it on paper that this is the punishment we are giving this person for this thing. Especially if it's not a legal thing. Now, please try to understand. If it's a legal case, then police will take punishment. We are nobody. But in this case also, it's not technically a legal matter because both people were adults. Okay, that lady was also 18, 19, which is considered an adult. So it's as such, it's not a legal case because it's not a child. If it's a child, then it comes under legal case. But now this is actually not a legal case. Certainly, it's an abuse. of somebody in superior position, but there is no legal thing here. So in such cases, the what at least Chowpatty Temple they say they would do is they would give punishment to the person, but they would not put anything in writing. Okay, so for example, one way this whole thing could have been handled is had they just given Maharaj the same punishment. What punishment they've given? That he has to go to some place, far away place, and he can give lectures only to his disciples. Okay, so this punishment can be done without making it such a public thing. One may say, why not make it public? Making it public has 2-3 major problems. One thing is that when you make it public, then you have effectively thrown that person out of ISKCON or whatever, right? Even if you say you have not thrown, it becomes like that. Like during Prabhupada times, there was one Madhu Dvisa Prabhu, and he was a sannyasi, and he had written some letter to a girl, and that was found in his bead bag, and somebody made it public. And Prabhupada was very angry with that person, that why did you make it public? Because now you made it public, he cannot come back only, correct? Because it will be very difficult for a person to come back once you make their mistakes like that public. So one thing is difficulty for the person to come back, and so it effectively becomes like a lifetime ban or a permanent ban. And in that context only, I started with this whole discussion by saying that how everybody has a chance to improve and come back and all that. But when the punishment is such that you don't allow only a person to come back, then it becomes kind of quite difficult. And also, second thing, it creates so much of confusion in people. Okay, which is again happening. So many young people who didn't know this Maharaj or whatever, they read all this on the internet, and they think why this has happened, and they suspect everybody. They doubt even good standing people and so on. So at least in retrospect, some of us feel that the punishment, even if it had to be given, it could have been given in such a way that you just tell him that you quit Mayapur, stay in some place, just do your bhajan. You're anyway 70-year-old now. For the rest of your life, do bhajan, be in connection with your disciples, and that's it. So the punishment is given, but at the same time, that person is also, he's having a chance to kind of come back or after some time, because sometimes it's also likely that the person who accused later, they withdraw some of their statements. I'm sure you're understanding what I'm saying, right? Like somebody accuses someone, and then later what they say is, they say, no, not everything that I accused was true. They say that only some part of it was true. But now when you give such a severe punishment, then later, even if the person who accused wants to withdraw some of their statements, then the world will not allow this person to come back, or this person to, a milder punishment. So these are some thoughts about the punishment itself that has been given, where some of us feel that it could have. So this whole concept of, Western transparency is actually a killer, if you see, in many ways. It's a killer, because it's like, it's so that the way they punish is so transparent that literally everything is on the internet. The statement of that Mataji, what all she has accused Maharaj of, everything is on internet for everybody to read. So even the enemies of the Hare Krishna movement, the Ritviks, the Christians, everybody has access to all these documents. Which we are not able to understand that why it had to be done like that. Because certainly in such cases, even as an organization, we have a fault, as in, because whoever was in charge of Mayapur should have seen that why you allow a sannyasi to be leading a girls' Gurukul. It just doesn't make any sense. Why should a sannyasi be involved in girls' Gurukul project? Okay, so many things like that. So and also this person, this Maharaj, is not that he's a born abuser. 50 years he has served ISKCON, and he has this very intellectual person, and he has contributions as well. But now this is the punishment that has already happened. But so we are just talking in retrospect, and we are just trying to see whether from our theology, whether the punishment could have been slightly more discreet and not so public. Okay, now coming to the point about the mistake itself. see, that's why we have always been discussing this many times, that this direct brahmachari and sannyas which is there is always very, very dangerous, and it's actually meant for very, very limited people. It's not at all easy, this. So this is a separate topic itself, right? So even very decent people, when they when they stay like this, they have this tendency in their mind to wish to explore a woman's body, and because they don't have a dharmic way of doing it, sometimes they end up committing such mistakes. So this is apparently what has happened in his case also, which is very, very unfortunate. Okay, so at this point, I think I've made some thoughts which I wanted to. I think I can kind of take some questions on it, and we could. Anybody with any questions? Vaibhavanand Prabhu had some question, or someone else had a question on this topic, on this
Yeah, can
incident
you
episode? Yeah, you're audible. Go ahead.
Okay. So my question is probably whenever such things happen, could it be because of that Mataji, had some ego problems later with Maharaj and, some other things. And because the time period which she took to reveal all these things is, too great, you know, more than a decade looks like. And sometimes what happens that ladies may have some problem, or even if somebody at the higher level have some problem with a personality, then such things becomes aggravated, even the punishment becomes aggravated. And now the ban is so heavy, like lifetime ban and everything. So how do you see this?
Yeah, I got your question. So of course I did read that Mataji's statement as well, which is not put on the ISKCON website, but it is there elsewhere. So I had access to that. I read it. Actually, her story is also a very, very sad story. If you read that now, it's not easy to see what she has undergone. Okay, so it was not so easy for her to come out. At least when I read her statement, I didn't feel that she has to be blamed. One thing is, she got married later, and her husband also was a victim of child abuse in ISKCON school. He was in ISKCON Mayapur Gurukul, where this homosexuality was prevalent, and all that kind of abuse happened with him. So it took many years for even the husband and wife to talk to each other and understand that both were victims of abuse. If you read her statement, you feel quite sad for both of them. So it is not that. So sometimes what happens now, the level of worship that we have for a sannyasi or somebody in that position is so great. It's instilled in a system that when the person commits mistakes also, which are very gross, a person fears to say, thinking that how can I even say about such a great person? Are you getting it? This is again coming from this black and white understanding, where either a person is very, very great. So even if he does something which is apparently wrong or whatever, how can you even speak about it? And then when it is understood that it is black, it's not white, then you just throw the person out completely, saying that he's a complete hypocrite and all that. So the truth is actually in the middle only, where certainly this Maharaj is a sincere person. It is not that he came to ISKCON to abuse people like this, but somehow in that situation, over that 2-3 year period, he has got carried away and he did whatever he did. Okay. Though now for many years he's reinstated properly and all that, but now that this whole thing has come out about what happened in those 3-4 years, that's how it is. So I wouldn't hold it against that Mataji. I hope you got the point.
Okay, Prabhuji. And what is the ideal punishment for this thing for a sannyasi and for a brahmachari?
No,
I
no,
mean,
no. The punishment given is okay only. The punishment given, nobody has an objection to that. The punishment is, they cannot give classes in ISKCON and all that. That is all fine. Okay. So what are the punishment they have given? They have basically said that he is permanently, he cannot stay in an ISKCON temple. He can have his own arrangement of staying, and he can give katha to his disciples and all that. They have not banned that. But the question is whether that punishment has to be made public. I hope you're understanding this. One is punishing a person, and punishing a person in public, which basically what happens is it completely thrashes a person out. I hope you're understanding the difference between the two.
yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Haribol, anybody else with any question? Yeah, Taragai Prabhu, go ahead.
The last thing, Prabhuji, I'm sorry I'm
Yeah.
disturbing. Just the last thing that can he still be a guru or can a sannyasi still practice sannyas, even after such a happening? Yeah.
Okay, now that thing, the ISKCON Sannyas ministry is yet to take a decision. So they will take a decision. They will be giving a statement. I know what they are going to do. I really don't know. They may decide to remove him from sannyas or whatever, but they will not allow him to take more disciples. See, Prabhuji, the thing is, since the last 14 years, he has been well situated only. So the thing is, yes, there has been a mistake, but then for that, to what extent you go? Okay, so it's that's a very complicated question. I can't say that because the sannyas ministry of ISKCON will take a decision in some time. They will obviously be putting it in public. But anyway, this whole thing of whether everything should be public like this, that itself is my question. In fact, we are discussing it today because it is already public. Had it not been public, there was no need only
Yeah.
to do all this. But the thing is, when they make it public like that, all our enemies, everybody has all this information, which is actually a little sad thing, and which actually completely, So if you see the letters, I'm in a series of emails with Mayapur community. They have been sending mails among themselves. Somehow they added me in that. I mean, all these devotees in Mayapur, those who are writing mails on that, they're blasting this Maharaj so much. It's like, first of all, they're not calling him by his initiated name, they're calling him by his previous Karmi name. And, it is like they have made him completely into a pretender, hypocrite, good for nothing person. So, see, this is what happens when it is public. People cannot handle it. Either you worship a person too much and you say he's pure devotee, he's Shuddha Bhakta, this, that, or you say that he's going to hell, he's a hypocrite, he was always a hypocrite, he's a cheater. So this both extremes are actually problem, and I think this is one very important lesson we have to take. Uh, Even personally, also, many times I go to some places, our devotees introduce us to the audience. इतना fantastic introduction देते हैं हमारे बारे में ना, we feel that they are a pure devotee only based on that introduction. But actually it is not like that. It is an ordinary sadhaka. लेकिन इतना introduction देते हैं, हमको glorify करते हैं उसमें. I'm not audible. Okay, 1 second. I'll just change my speaker once again.
Nana Prabhuji, you are quite audible.
1 second. Yeah. So what I'm saying is it better? Is the audio better? Can somebody just confirm on chat or something? Yeah. So basically, Hare Krishna. Yeah. So the point that I'm making is, this over glorification is also an issue. I'm really fearing that, because this Maharaj was also like that only. He was over glorified when he was present. I mean, when he was present, as in till now, when he was understood to be in a good standing. But now that people know what has happened, then the blasphemy is also equally vehement. So these are some lessons I think we need to learn. I personally feel, so that we are more balanced and more reasonable in our expectation from devotees also, rather than looking at people like this great devotee or fallen ekdam third class useless. I hope everybody is understanding this point. Yeah, Saragrai Prabhu, any question?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, I mean, like with any position, especially with the leadership position, I mean, like there are a lot of privileges which come. I mean, like we get a lot of facilities and then lot of access and all these things. So, I mean, so I mean, like how to handle that? Because I mean, one way is that I mean, we don't take that leadership position because that's really a risk. And second thing is that even if we take it, then how to handle such kind of like you mentioned about the praises and all these things.
Yeah. One has to. Yeah, I got the point. Actually, we should also tell people when they introduce us in any audience or something, na, give a very simple introduction. बहुत ज़्यादा हमारे बारे में बड़ा चढ़ा के बोलने का जरूरत नहीं है. As if we are like a pure soul only, completely. So I really fear that very much. Because then what happens? Then I also fear that tomorrow if I do one mistake and I'm a conditioned soul, come on, I'm not some pure devotee over here.
Yes,
In fact, hardly anybody is in that sense. As in, even when very advanced souls, they can always commit a mistake, right? That's what I think Chakrapani Krishna Prabhu has rightly put on the chat also. That Alvars, there is a story of this Alvar who went off track, right? With one woman, she was tempting him and all that. And how he comes back also. So the thing is, even great persons, they do get, this attraction to opposite sex is a phenomenal thing. It is not to be taken lightly. And this can happen to anybody. So, or some other mistake can also happen to anyone, but especially this one, the attraction to opposite sex is like the killer. So, especially for someone who doesn't have a wife and like sannyasi kind of person, if that comes in them, then they are to finished only. So yeah, this is very, very, this position, this glorification is extremely dangerous. Because when the opposite happens, then it happens like that. Yeah. Haribhav.
yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Harsha Lalita Mataji, go ahead.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, then that Pranam. Prabhuji, in materialist world scenario also, if there is anything goes wrong from any college or university, even the higher authorities are eligible to take any action, whoever posts is in like social media propagating, whether it is faculty or students or whatever it may be. And being in spiritual organization, we are putting everything in the social media, and already there is a propaganda that Hare Krishna, Hare Ramas are like that kind of people. And why not the leaders are not taking any action about it?
Yeah. So this whole thing, that's why I started talking about the
Repeating every time with every person, whoever does such mistakes, it's every time it's getting repeated.
Yes, Mataji, I agree with you very much. That's why I was saying earlier, unfortunately, now in some way, this comes from the Western thought process of transparency and punishment system. This is very, very, it's like this over transparent system, and punishment means like public punishment. This is quite, it's quite a, dangerous system in itself.
It has to be given like publicly, like that organization ka kuch hota hai na?
Yeah, and not only that, now they have not only put the organization's name at risk, they have also put the GBC's name at risk. Because even other GBC, like Shivram Maharaj has written a letter to the GBC, open letter, which I have it with me. In that he says, okay, this Maharaj did a mistake, but then even the GBC of Mayapur did the mistake. Because under their nose, something like this was happening for 4 years. And under their nose, this Maharaj was running a girls' Gurukul. Which if you see, technically, anybody can say that a sannyasi cannot run a girls' Gurukul, correct? I mean, anybody knows this. How can a sannyasi or a brahmachari be in charge of a woman's Gurukul teaching system? And he was staying there only, and so like this.
From the administration, na?
Yeah. So he is saying, Shivram Maharaj himself is saying this point. He has put an open letter actually. So the point is, in order to punish this Maharaj, GBC is punishing itself, the name of ISKCON, also the name of these these victims, because that is also now not so much a secret. I personally know who these people are now. And many people know like this, who are the victims. So even that victim has lost their privacy. Are you trying to understand the point? She's a married
Yes, so
lady. She's a
DVC is
married
not.
lady. She has 2 children. But so the
Yes.
whole thing is, so this is one question that we have. So Govind Prabhu said that he will be speaking to Radhanath Maharaj on this and trying to see if, at least they can change next time. And, have a system of punishment, which is where at least you give the punishment, no problem.
Yeah.
But have some discrete nature in that and protect all the identity of everybody and protect your own organization in that. Why you want to make things so transparent, or why you want to punish somebody so stringently? Stringently as in the punishment is the same, but when the punishment is public, it is more stringent. Na? Suppose if I tell somebody that you cannot give a lecture in ISKCON, then that is one punishment. But if I say you cannot give a lecture in ISKCON and it is put on public in the world for everybody in the world to see, then that's a different level of punishment, right? It's like you have spoiled the person's name and you have made it such that he cannot come back only. Aisa ho gaya na thoda. That's what that Shivaram Maharaj is also saying, that we will have to really take care of this Bhakti Vidya Purna Maharaj also, who has given 50 years of his life to ISKCON, whatever it is. Correct? He is not a born abuser. He is not a born cheat. It's not that he came to ISKCON to cheat like this or something. It happened. In fact, Shivaram Maharaj uses Bhagavad Gita 9.29 to say, Apichetsu duracharo bhajatema mananeva. He says that, see, durachara means something like this only. So you cannot, so he says, Krishna says that such a person is also sadhu. He has some saintliness in him. Right. So that's why earlier I was talking about all these other cases about how Ram deals with Ravan, or, Krishna deals with Duryodhan. They were ready to forgive them also, had they just repaired some mistake. Had Duryodhan given 5 villages, Krishna would have forgiven Duryodhan. Had Ravan given Sita back, Ram wouldn't have done anything to Ravan. So the point is, you give some facility for a person to improve also, rather than doing such a public, permanent, this banning culture. So
Punishment is
says
not
that,
there.
this banning culture should never be there, he says. This whole concept of banning anyone forever. And that also public ban. Privately when you ban, then you have many advantages in it. Because like as I told you earlier, this Mataji only who has been abused. So first of all the allegations have not been accepted by Maharaj. This lady has given 30 pages of accusations. I read that. So all those accusations are not accepted by him. He has accepted some of it, and he says that some are exaggerated. Now the thing is, now currently, because everything is in public, everybody will accept only the woman's statement, right? Nobody will accept what this Maharaj says. Are you getting? That is how psychology works.
But everything has to have a proof, na, Prabhuji.
Everything?
Everything should have a proof, na.
No, Mataji, for such things, how you come with the proof? 15 year pehle ka story hai, and she says that, I mean, if you read her letter, she says that this Maharaj volunteered to massage her, and in process of massage, he massaged all her private parts of her body and all that.
Complaint after 15 years.
No, person can complain at any time, but Maharaj has also accepted some of it. He has not denied everything. See, that's the problem. That's the point here. So the thing is, yeah.
The lady has not given complaint for 15 years means, so that is also sounding that she was also okay with it.
No, not like that, Mataji. See, she says that she had fear of her marriage. She was an 18-year-old girl that time. Shaadi nahi hua tha uska. So she had a fear about how she will get married. Then after marriage, she had a fear, what will her husband do if he knows that what happened to her. See, if you look at it from her perspective, it was not easy for her to come out. Are you getting my point? But then later, after many years, she understood that her husband also was a victim of abuse only. That is why both of them came out.
Okay.
Are you getting it? Yeah. So it's a very, very very sad story. From their perspective also, it's very sad. If you read the lives of those devotee children, and they were all devotee children who grew up in ISKCON. It's a very, very painful story to read. It's not easy to, I mean, I wouldn't hold it against her. Obviously, she was foolish at the age of 18 to tolerate all this. She could have stopped it on day one itself and nothing would have happened. Are you getting the point? Na?
Yes,
she could have told this Maharaj, I don't want your massage. Matter over. Udhar hi sab band ho jata tha, kuch nahi hota tha.
Yes.
But she said, how can I reject if he offers to massage me? And from there it started. touching all parts of her body and all that. They didn't have sex physically,
Okay.
but many things were done which were crossing all these boundaries. Are you getting the point? No?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But what is the view of GBC in this regarding social? Publicly opening everything at the social.
Yeah, that
media.
we want to know. Govind Prabhu said he will talk to Maharaj personally about it and get back to us. See, it's very difficult to know broad GBC perspective. At least Radhanath Maharaj's perspective, we can come to know. But one thing Govind Prabhu says that in Chaupati, Maharaj had made a system that if anybody does any mistake, no matter what mistake it is, nothing will be put on paper. We will punish the devotee, but it will not be written on paper and put on a notice board or whatever. So he told us that this was Maharaj's principle in Chaupati. Okay, now in larger ISKCON, Maharaj is not the only person who has a say. Are you understanding?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Haribol. Yeah, one
yes,
second.
Prabhuji.
I don't know who is. Yeah, Roopcharan Prabhu. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Prabhuji, from one perspective, what you are saying is right, that it should not be made public. But if you look from other side, na Prabhuji, so if we keep such things under wraps, then it leads to that over glorification. And if such things come out, it may not be very good from organization perspective from one side, but from other side, it does brings out a kind of it brings down the kind of glorification that happens, over glorification, and also people they become.
Yeah.
People will become not that unreasonable in their expectations, Prabhuji. That also
Prabhuji,
happens.
Yeah.
And even Matajis can also try to understand them to what level they have to accept if there are some advances from brahmacharis or even from sannyasis also. Because otherwise, like how I have also read about that Mataji, and she was one fear she was having was that he's a sannyasi, how can I say no in a sannyasi, how can I say no? Even after that, she had that fear, if I speak up, what will happen to me?
Yeah.
That is because she felt that I am the lone one. I'm the lone
I got
one.
it.
पहले इसके बाद में कभी नहीं होगा. She was feeling that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
I got your point. Yeah.
Hypocrisy जैसा हो जाएगा Prabhuji, I feel. It is like,
No. Yeah,
I'm not saying bring out everything in open, but at the same time to keep totally tightly under wrap. It is also, I don't know, Prabhuji, how good that part is.
Yeah, I got it. Prabhuji, the first point which is there, over glorification. We are not addressing that only. Please try to understand. Try to understand psychologically now those things we haven't changed yet as an institution. We still over glorify everybody only. Are you getting my point? Over glorify, over criticism, it happens. It's see, that is a culture in an organization which will have to tone down. Just too much of so just because you think that we have brought this Maharaj's matter in public gaze, do you think that now as an organization we will be more careful to understand that every human being has limitations, including senior people and so on, and be more moderate in our glorification of them and even criticism of them? I don't think so. As an organization, that maturity we haven't come to, right? As an organization, I'm saying. As a people,
Prabhuji, we may not be glorifying, but the expectation, I definitely feel, Prabhuji, people will understand to a certain extent that everyone can have weaknesses.
Till now, more than 100 such sannyasis have done things even much worse than this.
Agreed, Prabhu, but it hasn't come.
100.
Now it's the age of social media, Prabhu. Now it is going everywhere.
Yeah, but these 100 cases were already in public. So with all that, if we have not accomplished, again and again more, and see, the whole thing is, some systems change also has to be there, which is what some of these people are also raising to the GBC. Like, for example, I will tell you, 5 years back they had a system that they will give sannyas to only people above 50 years of age. You may be knowing that, correct? Like Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj got sannyas at 48. They decided after 50, 55 only we will give people sannyas, which was a very good decision by the GBC, mind you. Very good decision. I mean, I was also very happy when I read that. But recently, last year, they revoked it. And in Europe and other places, they have started giving sannyas to 35, 36-year-old people. Somebody who's brahmachari for 10 years, because he's a good preacher, they gave sannyas like that. They have done it. So the point is, when you talk about learning mistakes as an organization, there are so many things in this which we are yet to do. You understood, na? Just by making this public, we are not learning those lessons. That lessons we could have
I'm
anyway
not
learned.
approving. I'm not approving. I'm saying there is another side of its story. You can
I
look it
got
from
it.
other
I got it.
perspective also.
Yeah, and and when we say keep it under wraps, na, it's not keep it under complete wraps. The GBC can know about it. Leaders can know about it. But see, so many things the GBC discusses, right? Everything, do they put it on paper? They know many things about what happens. So see, that's what na. So when we say in Chowpatty they had made a policy that never put anything in writing, it doesn't mean that leaders are not aware. Leaders have to be aware only of what mistake somebody is doing and the punishment given. That person should be aware, victim should be aware. But the only thing is whether the new fellow who is chanting one round of Hare Krishna, should even he be aware of what has happened. Are you getting? These are two different points. You get my point here?
Yes, Prabhu, I got
Yeah,
it. And
yeah,
I
yeah.
agree with you, Prabhu. It should not be in public. Many
Public means
unwanted
this
things happen
kind
with
of
it.
public. This kind of public.
This kind of public, yeah, where
Like,
everyone is coming
actually,
to know.
Where every
Prabhu,
bum in the street knows about it.
yes,
You
Prabhu, just
get
one
it, right?
question is there, Prabhuji.
yeah.
Prabhuji, at our level as ordinary sadhakas, we like, how we should take this episode, what learning, should be there from our
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah. So one thing we can surely learn is, I mean, on a personal level, we can learn that attraction to opposite sex for a man especially is phenomenal always. It's always phenomenal. I mean, this whole thing na, that man, the male body has attraction to opposite sex much more. See, the female body female they are more attracted to that, what shall I say, not to the physique so much, but they are overwhelmed by the power of that person. You understood, na? Like, you got it, na? It's not always so physical from their side,
Yes,
but
Prabhu.
it's more in terms of, like, this girl also, same thing happened with her, na? She was an 18-year-old. She was in awe of Maharaj. She was like, oh, he's such a great man. So she also felt like this, he's such a great person, great man. So women have that, they look at a man like that actually. But for a man, the physical body of a woman is always attractive, and that thing, to keep those boundaries in check is something we have to understand, and we should never think that we are beyond it and anybody is beyond it. Honestly, nobody is beyond it. I mean, as they say, as one Bhagavatam verse says, only Lord Narayan and a dead man is beyond attraction to a woman. So this attraction to a woman is a very, very strong thing. And because that attraction is there are certain systems in place. Prabhuji, if you see Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a pastime that somebody comes to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one fellow from Bengal, and he says that my wife has come, and he says the name of his wife. So when he says the name of his wife, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is embarrassed, saying that, Hare, because in those times the culture was, you cannot take the name of a woman in front of a sannyasi. Are you understanding that? Even that was the cultural setup. Now we may say this is too much, but you will not believe, in many places, like if you see in the traditional sampradayas in India, Advait Sampradaya, Madhva, Sri Vaishnavas and all, woman has to stand at least 3-4 feet distance from sannyasi, Paili baat. And only in public she can be there, and that also at least 4-5 feet away she has to be there. Coming close beyond 2 feet and when nobody is there, matlab ye to hota hi nahi hai kahin par. And even if you see Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's time, when they would give initiation to Mataji, Saraswati Thakur would give, there was a parda. The woman would sit on the other side and they would receive initiation like that. So even if you have to take sannyas, then you have to follow some systems. So the thing is, in our organization, somehow, Matajis also want to talk to sannyasis directly, and sannyasis also sometimes encourage that. So that danger becomes more. We are not saying everybody is going to fall, but then we don't know who will fall or kiske saath kya hoga. So better to maintain that extreme caution. That is one important lesson we can take. Second thing is, overly we shouldn't think somebody pure devotee, and this whole tag of making someone pure devotee too much is also a very it's something too much actually. I remember once Govind Prabhu, there was someone who, while talking to Govind Prabhu, was telling about Radhanath Maharaj. He was telling that, oh, Radhanath Maharaj is a pure devotee, this, that. So Govind Prabhu told him, how do you know he's a pure devotee? Are you a pure devotee? Because only if you are a pure devotee, you know someone's pure devotee, correct? Are you getting the point?
Yes.
I mean, only a pure devotee can understand a pure devotee. So how do you say somebody is pure devotee? Are you pure devotee? That means, okay. So you cannot simply, just say anything like that. So the thing is, we have to be a little bit reasonable in this, and also this, yeah. So many things like this, giving sannyas at early age. Sannyas is to be protected greatly as an institution. Mataji is also understanding this thing, and even leaders thinking. If some sannyasi says, "I will take charge of women's gurukul," then how do you respond to that? So many things like that. So many lessons are there. But the thing is, unfortunately, this is the 100th time we are learning the lesson as a history of ISKCON. So then, so then that becomes a problem. So that becomes like, why you want to learn the same lesson again and again. You understood, no? So then,
Yes, bro.
are you getting? So that's why some devotees
Yeah.
are saying that why ISKCON, why are we again going back and giving sannyas to 35-year-old people? Because we are seeing that people, even brahmacharis at the age of 45, they get a desire to marry. What if this 35-year-old person who takes sannyas after 10 years, he feels? Then what happens? Again, same thing will happen. So when the lessons are not learned, then there is no use in making everything so public. Because even if you got the point, na? So some change in that also is important.
Yes, bro. Thank you, bro.
Hare Bol.
Understood.
Yeah.
Hare
Yeah, Chakramani Krishna Prabhu, you had something to say?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Bol.
A couple of points, Prabhuji. One thing is I have put in the chat about the question where, we see that, such exalted demigod like Indra, right? He also commits mistakes, right? And
Yeah.
but later he is either cursed or he undergoes some kind of atonement and he is reinstated in the same position.
Yeah.
Right? And his sins are also not ordinary sins. They are also very
Indra does terrific things also. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but still, he's reinstated. There is
Yeah.
scope for him to reform,
Yeah.
and he
There
has
is.
reformed.
Yeah.
So that is one story. And basically, I wanted you to draw some parallels between such like exalted demigods, how they were dealt with by the universal system, and how we are doing it in ISKCON, and some kind of parallels.
That is, very good. That's why I started my whole talk with this whole concept of Jiva. That means this whole concept of Jiva. See, because ultimately everything is connected to theology. The theology of Sanatana Dharma accepts that every soul is pure by nature and in the conditioned stage has a tendency to fall, but can always get reinstated. That's why we discussed all the examples that we did in the beginning. Okay, so that is where the whole punishment process needs to be muted down at least to a level where even if you give punishment, you are allowing the person to come back.
Yes.
Okay, now when you have a system of punishment where the fellow cannot come back only, then you're closing that door to him as an individual. That was the main issue that I raised in the beginning. Are you getting it?
Yes, it's true.
Yeah. So that has to change. That has to change. I mean, so we'll have to come up with a different system of punishment. Punishment is okay. You want to tell somebody, okay, don't give class, Bhagavatam class, fine. But if you put it on notice board that he cannot give Bhagavatam class, such and such person has been banned from giving Bhagavatam class for the next 10 years. That fellow cannot show his face in the temple, man. He's a human being. He has some self-pride.
Yes.
He will be forced to run away from, devotees, devotional service, everything. Because, so that's what Shivaram Maharaj is also saying. This sannyasi, now we have suddenly thrown him out. He in fact says that Bhaktivedanta Purana Maharaj, 50 years from the age of 20 to the age of 70 has served ISKCON. 50 years. And he has no money with him. Now you're throwing him out. Where will he go?
Yes.
He's saying that GBC has to provide for his maintenance also. 50 saal he has stayed and served. Okay, 2 years he did mistake, but other 48 years he served you, na? So now when you throw him out, first of all, where will he go?
Yes.
Okay, and so he says that we have to arrange a financial package even for the abused, for the abuser and abused, for both. You got the point, na? So these are some lessons to learn. Otherwise, it's not like so. But unfortunately, the if you see in the internet or if you see the devotees also, they take a very harsh stand against anybody. It is like, it's like so harsh that one feels that, oh my God, why like this in the first place?
So I would personally believe
so I'll give you another example. It is anyway in the public, so I can give you. This Loknath Maharaj's case, some of you may be knowing this. In 1990, he had visited one Grihastha home in US, and he stayed there for a week or two. So that Grihastha had an 11-year-old daughter. So though that Grihastha family had told Maharaj to teach this girl harmonium and Krishna book. So Loknath Maharaj would, put that girl on his lap, and he was teaching her harmonium and he was teaching Krishna book. On that occasion, that girl, after 10 years, when she became 21, she started saying that time Maharaj touched my thigh and all that. I mean, nothing very severe happened because the girl's mother was there at home only. I mean, it was not like this. But he says that while teaching harmonium, the tal and all is there. He touched my thigh, and that touch was a sexual touch. And the girl started saying. So that time they punished this Maharaj. I mean, this Loknath Maharaj, they told him that he cannot come to US, give initiation for 5 years here. Recently, they said that this child protection team and the West ISKCON, they started saying that we should ban him for life. Fortunately, Indian ISKCON took a strong stand and said that, see, first of all, this incident has happened 32 years back. And what is the incident? The accusation is that he touched the thigh and, hand, arms, some part of the 11-year-old girl. Not that she was without clothes or anything like that. Okay, and this happened in the presence of the mother. That means it happened in the hall. Not that he was not in like a bedroom or something with this girl.
Correct.
Okay, even if you say it's a mistake, you already punished him by saying 5 years he was not allowed to initiate and all. But then beach mein they took a stand. GBC actually stopped him from initiating for 3 years and giving public class for 3 years. Fortunately, that happened during Corona time. So nobody knew about it. So the punishment, it was all in open only. That Pragosh Prabhu was the chairman of GPC. He has made a video statement on Loknath Maharaj, which is put on the website and all that. So everybody knows about it. I mean, those who want to know. But the point again is, how much will you punish a person? Of course, that was a much milder case. But what I'm saying, even in this case, now this punishment is such that this person has nowhere to go also, literally. So but then there's no compassion also for him. I mean, people feel that, he did like this means he's a... So what happens now? People tend to think that he's an out and out hypocrite. You understood?
And especially with such kind of people who have done so much of service, and we can see that they have great amount of positive things in their life also. Punishment should be for reforming. Punishment should not be to throw people away.
Yeah, so this was the only problem that we have with this whole thing. Otherwise, I mean, even the punishment per se, that means saying that he should not give class and all, even that's okay. I mean, if that's what you want. But then the way you do it is the challenge here. Yeah, Haribol. Yes, Dinabandhu Chaitanya Prabhu, go ahead.
Yeah, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Prabhu, can you hear me?
Yeah, very well.
Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu. This point of over glorification and over criticism is something which I was also meditating on, and you just brought it up so beautifully. So that's one thing which really struck me. But I had one question, Prabhu, on is this whole excess punishment or whatever we talked about, is it a consequence of the earlier whatever the child abuse history, a very painful history which our society has gone through, and lost so much of honor, money, whatever, like it has been a slow response in one sense, but maybe is this the consequence of learning that lesson, that now we have to give such severe punishments for for everything which happens?
Yeah, you're right. That is why they are doing it. But first of all, in this case, this girl is not a child. See, if it was a child, it was a completely different thing. She was 18, 19 at that time. She's not a child at the time of abuse. So that argument doesn't come here. See, that's the point. The Child Protection Office has taken action because it happened in a school environment. But the abused was not a child. She was an adult. She was like a child, as in, she was childlike, but technically not a child per se. But I agree with you. That is why they are taking it. It's like, the mistake, the troubles that have come because of this have pained the organization so much that now they want to take such. But then it doesn't. Yeah, I got your point. But it also comes from this whole thing of duality, where you over glorify or over criticize. So that's why I started speaking also about the Western way of dealing with issues. It's very, very black and white. Either they will glorify or they will ban. That's why I said that Twitter banned Trump. So many people they will ban. that Jack or whoever was there, na, the previous CEO of Twitter, such a fellow he was. He had come to India. He held one placard also, smash Brahminical patriarchy, like that he was saying, and he had held. So these people are like, I mean, this true Indology they banned. If you know Twitter, they banned true Indology on Twitter. This Western thought process है ना, कभी बहुत खतरनाक है. It is like, so it comes from that. See, unfortunately, whether we like it or no, anything comes from theology, it comes from language, it comes from culture, it comes from that only, na? The way you deal with issues. So we feel that is also a cause for this kind of response. But in any case, it's unfortunate. Yeah.
But another thing I'm not able to understand very well is this. I mean, okay, banning culture, that way it exists, everywhere. Like in India also, I mean, there's so much banning of well, we can argue about like, the validity of that, but I'm not sure it's only in the West. And also, this point about, the
No, once again, India as a democracy, Prabhuji, I mean, we'll not go into that debate so much, but as a democracy, it's quite free now. I mean, as in, people, right, you can question anybody or whatever. But anyway, yeah, go ahead. That's a different point totally.
Yeah, I mean, this thing about, because, this excessive punishment is a Western thing. I mean, actually, from what I understand, like even when, let's say some rape cases happen, it's more of like, the Western mindset is to keep the identity of the victim under wraps. From what I understand, in the mainstream media and things like that, they're quite, because I've seen this now, I mean, in outside India, I don't know how it happens now in India, but now in outside India, it's always like they try to protect the identity of the victim, like rather. So I'm not sure why you're saying it's, this is just a Western phenomenon. It seems to me that they also have this concern about victim not being exposed.
No, that victim should not be exposed only. But in fact, now here the victim is exposed. This lady who has said something about Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, whoever raised it, at least many of us know who she is. We know her husband's name, we know her father-in-law's name, we know where she stays in Mayapur. Malum hai na? So where now it is under wraps? That is the whole point that I'm saying. It should be under wraps. At least the victim should be under wraps. Everything need not be so public. Mm-hmm. The victim who is there, na, see, this is not child abuse. This is consensual only, adult mein. It is pastoral abuse or authority abuse. You can call it as an authority abuse. Technically, it's called pastoral abuse. That means some pastor means someone who is like in a position of authority in a church. His abuse it is. But the thing is, it is not under wraps any longer. Everybody knows that is also one question we have. Why should we make it public? Why is the name of the victim? Why is that letter itself public of the victim? Because she has said who is her father-in-law in that letter, and her father-in-law is a well-known figure in ISKCON Mayapur. So everybody knows whom they're talking about. Are you understanding, na?
Yeah, no, that is okay. But I'm just wondering, why are you saying it's a Western phenomenon? When
No. I said Western phenomenon because this whole system of over glorification and over punishment is a Western thing. Because in the beginning, I was talking about this whole thing, Western theology, where the soul is either sent to heaven or hell. Correct? It all begins from that. And then they're dealing with people also. Either you're a saint or you're a sinner. Right? Like we know this, when Gandhi died also, when the Pope is asked, where is the destination of Gandhi? He says it is hell because he has not accepted Jesus. So in the Western world, they have this thing because of their theology, whether it is Islam, Christianity or Judaism, they look at it very binary, Prabhuji. Either you're a saint, you're a sinner. There is nothing in the middle. There is no grayscale only. उनके theology में वैसा है. उनके theology में वैसा होने के कारण then in all other systems also the same thing will come, na? But in our theology it is not like that. That is exactly what I'm saying. So that's why I gave the example of Ravan, of Duryodhan, of somebody gave Chakrapani, gave example of Indra. कितना भी करे ये लोग, लेकिन उनको थोड़ा ग्रे देखते हैं ना हम लोग. We see the good part in them also, but these people don't see like that. They will brutally slander a person from faith perspective. And that's how it has been in the West. That's why I say it's a Western phenomenon. You understood, no?
Right. So, I mean, as far as GBC is concerned, are you also saying they are quite influenced, I mean, or rather,
No. Yeah, because of the language and the Western. See, when we speak in English, Prabhuji, with the language itself, that culture also comes in so many ways. That thought process comes from that also, no? And
Right.
obviously the background also comes from that. No? In an organization, it's a Western style organization. So again, the same things come up, unfortunately. I mean, these things can be improved. So the purpose of saying is not that it's a gone case, but consciously it will have to be done. In our scriptures only there are statements. Chaitanya Charitamrita means statement, hey, you should not over glorify or over criticize somebody. So we have to implement that also. Na? Why do we? Because this over glorification also na, is very awkward. I don't know whether I have personally experienced it too much. When our devotees introduce us na, in some sabha for giving lecture, oh my God, itna introduce karenge na humko ki baap re. We only start feeling I'm really so great, what? And then, the audience expectation from us also is, so maybe they want to tell this to the audience to say that he's a very great person. You should have faith in what he says. But I feel that because of this, the general tendency of everyone is to look at everybody too high. And then when something small happens, then you're unable to accommodate grayscale only. Then you feel that he's completely fallen.
Yeah. So saying this, I mean, like even everywhere we say like, is this pure devotee has come. So even that is something.
Yeah, kya pure?
Consciously done.
Bro, are we? See, I mean, if I ask myself, am I a pure devotee? To understand somebody XYZ is a pure devotee, I need to be pure devotee. Na? Is it not correct? If I am a fallen fellow, how do I understand who is who? I can say that he's a senior person. I can say he's well learned. I can say that he's very sincere in his sadhana. I can say that he is, he has been an exemplary person in these areas.
Yeah.
But to become too emotional in our explanation of devotees, that sometimes causes issues like this, because then you're not able to handle only. Na? See, now what happens is Bhaktivedanta Purna Maharaj, now that he has done this, many people who heard him or who had respect for him, they feel they cannot handle only that inhone aisa kaisa kiya. Because you had such an estimation of somebody who is in a sannyas dress or whatever, like, Prabhupada disciple, he is so great, this, that you cannot handle only the other part. So it is connected, right? When you are, you got the connection between what I'm saying.
Yes, bro. Yes, I think it makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Roop Gaur Prabhu, go ahead.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, one thing is there that see, in a society like ours, suppose what I mean, that's what I'm thinking from GBC point of view. What they did. See, if they will impose any punishment and not let the public know, then also this is going to come out in public. Like if Bhakti Vidyapurna Maharaj is banned from visiting any Mayapur project, I mean he's moved out of Mayapur, then everybody is going to come to know that this has happened, which is not a small thing. He is not giving lectures. So invariably people will know it, and then they will question the GBC that they are trying to hide or something. I mean,
maybe that is, I got it. I got your point. But it can be accomplished in so many ways. Prabhuji, there are so many sannyasis you will not believe who have taken a back seat for many other reasons, for health reasons, for personal reasons. Like Mukunda Maharaj is there. He's a very nice sannyasi, but he has said that now permanently he will be in New Zealand only in some small community. He doesn't want to travel. He will just stay there and do bhajan all his life. He is not going to go anywhere. So many sannyasis have said that.
Yes.
So that person must say. That person only must say that now, for my own personal reasons, I have decided to be like this, low profile, and just do one thing in one temple, just sit in one place, wherever it is decided, he will stay or whatever, and do my thing. And some top people can obviously know. The GBC anyway knows everything. So they can be known so that, they can ensure that, no such situation happens again in the future, which was again very unlikely. Because for 14 years, this Maharaj sitting in Mayapur with so many Matajis around and all, he has not done anything. I mean, a very clean record only. So the thing is, so Yeah, you got it. Now I understand what you're saying also.
I understand.
I understand it's not that easy also. This is
Yes.
all again because everything is so global.
Yeah,
See,
and so
I mean,
complicated.
yeah, we can appreciate this point also. When everything is so global, then it has its big challenges also. Sometimes some things are local; they are easier to handle. Yeah, Hariba.
Yes,
Deepti Mataji,
Prabhuji.
please go
And
ahead. Yeah, you had another question?
Prabhuji, just one thing I wanted to, put that one way, like the Mataji herself, that lady who got abused, she must have, something like that, that she herself has given an option that you tell what should be the punishment, something like that. I just want to know, this is not for this thing. I'm trying to understand. Whenever this kind of things happen, see, even in kids, when we see that some person is, one kid is too much battered or, harassed, then to give that kid or to give that person
Yeah,
that
understood.
option, that
Yeah, got it.
is it the right way, or is it a good way, or?
It is one way. It is one way to ask them also their opinion on this issue. Yeah, I do agree that involving them in the decision-making process is also important. And that point is agreed on. I'm sure they would have done that. They would have asked.
And this reduces the
But-
pain also.
Yeah, this reduces it. Yeah. Hariba. Yes, Deepti Mataji, you had something?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Most of the things
Hariba.
are already being discussed, but
Okay.
things which I thought was that what you were saying, that victim exposure, that is very correct, because now I don't know, but the person, whoever knows her, they'll always have a judgment towards her, why she did not speak earlier, or was she
Yeah, the whole
afraid.
Mayapur community knows. Everybody knows who's her father-in-law. Now, what more you want? The father-in-law's name is there on public.
So they will never be treated like earlier, what I would say,
Yeah.
even though she is not at mistake. So
Yes.
it should not be made public, but probably anonymously these things should be, because as you said, there have been 100 cases earlier and still the lesson has not been learned. So there should be some reason for that also. Maybe the punishments were not that much strict, or people don't know about that,
No,
or
no,
is
no,
it a
Mataji.
shame?
Punishment has been all like this only. जिसने भी कुछ भी किया नसीब. That way, one thing I'll tell you, ISKCON GBC has taken very strong stand against anyone who did a
Yes.
mistake. They have been very brutal. But the thing is, when they are there, then that glorification is so much that you don't. So those lessons are not being learned. My point is that you get like Kirtanand Maharaj when he left.
Yes.
Then when it was understood that he did a mistake, GBC publicly banned him and threw him out. I mean, of course, his case was different. Every case was different, but they removed him from sannyas. But the thing is that when he was there, the mistakes that he was doing, nobody spoke about that. That strong authoritative position on any issue. Like, you understand what I'm saying, right? Like he would he would arrange marriages where he would just tell his disciple that you should give your daughter to such and such person. Like I'll give you a simple example. So when he was there, there was this Mahaprabhu in Bombay. So his daughter, he got her married to his bodyguard in New Vrindavan. And he said that, and the whole culture was that when pure devotee says something, you should listen to it. Because Guru Mukha Padma Vakya na, Chitte te Koriya Aikya. So these are all actually, but these abuse nobody speaks about. This is actually abuse. You understood the point, na? I mean, telling some Indian Grahastha to give his daughter in marriage to a Western bodyguard of his, and in 1 year of marriage, that bodyguard left Krishna consciousness. Are you getting it? So now this young 20-year-old Indian girl, unnecessarily she was caught up in marriage with one Western random guy for no fault of hers. But these lessons we don't talk about only. You get it, na? What is the lesson over here? Taking authority, misusing that position of, that means, crossing your limits of authority. As a guru, you have certain boundaries. A guru cannot cross that and say you get married to somebody and all that. That's not a work of a guru in the first place. So some lessons like this we don't learn. But some other lessons we have learned also. We've taken strict action against sexual things and all. ISKCON has taken very strict action. I mean, that I will tell. But the point is that the lessons like, not giving sannyas very early, those kind of lessons are also, at least some of us feel, are very important to take. Better give sannyas after 50, 55. That's safe. So even if somebody brahmachari age of 45 wants to get married, and so many get married nowadays, we have seen that. Right? Then at least they can get married, and brahmachari getting married is okay always. Even at 45, a brahmachari gets married, chalega. He's brahmachari only, na? But why give him sannyas at 35? So some things like that, if ISKCON, they had learned also, but we really don't know why they undid that particular lesson. So some things like that, yeah.
Actually, it happens in, I would say, all organizations apart from ISKCON also, or in the schools, other schools also. So,
I
but
agree
still,
that.
they are happening even after
I agree that.
punishments. But yes, parents are more aware. I would say, as a parent, I was more aware of these things, and I tried to protect. But so maybe that's why
Yes.
it might reduce, because as social media and everything we get to know, and we teach children now. Earlier, they were all under the wraps. So when probably these things happen in other organizations like this Asaram or Ram Rahim, then we feel very disgusted, and we just feel like they are good for nothing. So same thing people will think about ISKCON also, right? Because we are in the system, we feel okay, this person did the mistake, we'll give him punishment, we'll get over with it. But when other organizations do such things, we feel like, what kind of organization is that? So
Yeah.
again, the debate comes whether it should be public or not public, because anything comes out will be out.
Mataji, if it is legal, it is public. See, Asaram case was a rape. That was legally, it was a case against him. You understood? See, if something is legal, then it is public only by definition. You can't hide anything that is legal. Are you getting the point? But if it is not legal, see, this is ethically wrong. This was not legal case, try to understand. This will not stand in the court. See, if a 19-year-old girl and a 40-year-old man engage in something which is consensual, even if later she says that, so whatever it is, so that doesn't become so legal. Are you getting it? Now, legal standing both weak hai uska. If the legal standing is strong, then it has to be public only. Now, how can you hide it? So when we talk about Asaram or Ram Rahim or all these people that we know in the news today in India, these are all legal cases. These are all like, they are all proper rape case, which is basically there on the person charge. So then there is no question of hiding it or. Understood, na Mataji?
Yes, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol. Yeah, Gaurav Prabhu.
Prabhuji, thank you for the class. I joined a bit late, so I'm not sure if it's covered or not. So my question, there are two questions, related questions. So one is that, we all are part of ISKCON, and even in individual circles, we are likely to face some questions from people around us. Some of them actually are critics of ISKCON, right? So how do we respond to them? That is one. And a related question is that we spoke about the case of Asaram and Ram Rahim and all, but again, I don't take them in the same kind of platform as, say, ISKCON, or for that matter, your Shri Sampradaya people, proper authenticated kind of people. These are like godmen, so they're different. But are we aware of such situations happening in other Sampradayas also? I mean, that could be one of the arguments given in defense of what is happening here, not in defense, but just to explain that this is not something uncommon, which has happened in ISKCON. So the question is that how do we respond to critics who may come to us, and is there a similar cases happening in other Sampradayas?
Okay, I'll take both of them. I didn't answer this before. As far as critics are concerned, if people will read it. So many people are going to read, no. So we have to be honest. We have to tell them that, see, the human body which is there now, we have to tell them. That's why all these stories are there in the Puranas of Indra falling down, Brahma falling down. Ye jo story bataya gaya na, it is not to say that, oh, these people are also useless. No, it's not like that. They were great people. But the human body has this tendency to fall down, to fall victim to sexual attractions. And this exists even in a sincere person. See, now please try to understand, there are two types of people. One who is an outright cheat, who may be exploiting women. Are you getting? There are many people like that, who may be sitting in a position of power and intentionally they may be, that means they may be out and out hypocrite. I hope you're able to understand the difference in the two.
Yeah.
But the second person can be sincere in his bhakti, including you, me, and everybody in our group. But even we can, Indra is not an insincere person. When we say Indra fell to Ahalya and all, it's not that Indra is a scoundrel. No, he's a great personality, but that attraction only is like this to the opposite sex. Anybody can fall down. Even a genuine person can fall, and a fallen person is always fallen. So, okay. So this is one thing that we have to tell people, and we should not take so much a high ground. That see, this is where we may find it difficult to deal with outside people who can ask, because if you take too much high ground, that if those who are in our this thing, everybody is pure, perfect, ज़्यादा अपने आप के बारे में छड़ा के नहीं बोलने का लोगों को, then it becomes difficult to justify that you are also normal human being only. Okay, that is one thing in dealing with outside people. And as far as other sampradayas are concerned, there are some so in Sri Sampradaya, for example, what happens is sannyas is given only after grihastha. So they give sannyas only to somebody who is after 55 years of age, who was married, who had children, who had a job, and who takes sannyas now, and he stays like that. So first of all, at least in their system, which I have closely observed, such things almost never happens, because first of all, every sannyasi is someone who is almost 60 plus, and he went through family life, and because that's mandatory for them. I mean, they don't have this concept of direct sannyas only. So everybody goes through grihastha. So then, and such an age when they take, then such things almost never happen, at least though since I've been close. Now, if you see the Madhvas and the Shankaracharyas, there they give sannyas directly, like how ISKCON gives. Brahmachari only becomes sannyasi. One thing about their system is that the social restrictions are very strong. For example, women have to be so much distance away. There is always a grihastha man who's serving that sannyasi, and he's always like a bodyguard to him, to ensure that no etiquette is violated. You understood? So there is a check on him also. So like that. But occasionally, at least in Madhva, some years back, there was one case where somebody did some mistake and they took some corrective action against him. There was one case that happened. This was several years back. So yeah, because that's again the same reason, because they take sannyas at a young age. But there it is less also, because one thing is they employ many other tools also, like astrology. They see to see that person has sannyas in his chart and so on. So there are some other points also which tend to act in their favor. And that whole culture of what shall I say, that strict being away from women is very strong. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, any last question? Vaibhavanand, bro, you still have a question, or is the old hand raised?
Yes, just the last thing, Prabhuji, that
Yeah.
you were mentioning over glorification. So actually, this has, I think, come from Maharaj itself. Like Maharaj glorifies very nicely each and every devotee.
Yeah,
So if we consider that an over glorification, I don't think so, Prabhuji. So whatever the great soul performs, the common people follow. And the second
yeah.
question, you see that in Pune also, what has happened publicly with, Bal Govind Prabhu or Das Dharaj Prabhu,
Yeah.
I will see that if in Pune that thing is not implemented, that publicly, I don't think that, devotees should have been penalized, like that. For example, Bal Govind Prabhu or, Das Dharaj Prabhu or, many other devotees like that. I have seen
Yeah.
public notices put against them. And, some are in good standing. So how do you see culture difference between Chowpatty and Pune, especially relating to the punishment system and how it can be?
No, Pune and Chowpatty is completely different. Like here, we have always had this tradition of putting up a notice and all that, which again doesn't go in Chowpatty at all. As I told, they have a very clear policy. They will never put anybody's mistake on paper. They will deal with it. They may give him a punishment, but it is never on paper like this. So that part they take care very nicely. I hope our people also, we are telling our leadership here that we should avoid doing this. So at least we hope that next time somebody does, I mean, I'm not really hoping that somebody again does a mistake so that we behave correctly. But I genuinely, because the material world, so somebody will always do something at some point of time. I hope that we deal with it better. But that has already been brought to the attention of our authorities here. And don't do. Okay, now about Maharaj himself. So see, he is, Maharaj himself as a person, if you see that, he has an amazing sense of balance which he accomplishes. One thing is he has been very encouraging to his god brothers. See, you have to also understand that he has been personally instrumental in getting many people like the Shyam Sundar Prabhu and all, who were almost thrown out of ISKCON or whatever, to get them back. Pradyumna Prabhu, I don't know whether you know, he's the person who translated Bhagavatam 10th canto, 11th canto, 12th canto. He was thrown out of ISKCON for some very stupid reason, actually. I mean, there was no mistake also, but he was thrown out. Maharaj got these people back. I have seen that Maharaj, when he gets many of his god brothers, god sisters, many of them have undergone very, very difficult times. See, that's another aspect of proper disciples, especially even this Lakshmi Moni Mataji. I mean, if you read her life, oh my God, I mean, so much of, troubles she has undergone. Malti Mataji, many of these people, Yamuna Mataji, and so many proper disciples. I don't want to go into each of those cases, but so Maharaj, when he is, encouraging them in that particular way, so he gets these people and he has been glorified, and he has been instrumental in getting many of them back to ISKCON track, which they were otherwise thrown out. So I think there are many other reasons also, the way Maharaj deals with his god brothers, god sisters. It has to be seen from a different light as well. Yeah, I think we need to end. It's quite long. Maybe last Rup Gaur Prabhu, if you have something, I'll take, because I don't want to take anything on the QA group, because it's this topic is such that I don't want to take on the QA group. So that's why I'm just taking questions here only. Yeah, yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, just one last thing. I mean, about this thing, which I realized that Maharaj, when he's glorifying, it's not the problem. It's not the over glorification. I think it is the irrational glorification.
Yeah,
When,
very
even
good
the
point, yeah.
person who is speaking, he's speaking
Yeah.
that I am a pure devotee, like you said. He himself is not convinced that you are somebody whom he's glorifying is a pure devotee. He's just speaking from the mouth. Maharaj, whatever he does, he speaks from the heart. He feels that way.
Yes.
Therefore, it touches the heart. It doesn't feel like, even when he's glorifying, and he's not glorifying whatever, I mean, irrationally.
Yeah, thank you
So
for
it
that.
touches
Yeah,
the
you
heart.
made a correct
That's what I
point.
feel.
Yeah,
I mean,
thank you.
he has
Thank you.
sincerity in
Perfect.
whatever he speaks.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta ki jai.